The group stages for the 2024-2025 CAF Champions League is officially over. All 8 places for the quarterfinals have officially been booked. We're going to recap this weekend's matches and a little bit more all after the break on this episode of the African Five-Side Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the African Football Report on the African Five-Side Podcast. I'm your host, Mahar Mizahi, and as always, this show is brought to you by africasaCountry.com. Feels good to be recording an episode in Africa. For the last few months, I was actually in Europe, with the quick exception of going to Qatar, and now I'm back in Algiers, back in my hometown, for the foreseeable future, just in time, I think, to cover a lot of African football. So yeah, it just feels a little bit different. It hits a little different when you're on the continent. It was a pretty good weekend of matches, a pretty interesting slate of matches. I'm gonna mostly be focusing on 3 matches that I paid the most attention to this week. Young Africans versus MC of Algiers, Al Ahly versus Orlando Pirates, and then Mamelodi Sundowns against AFR. We will, of course, touch on the impressive victories of Pyramids and Esperance Tunis, and also just a small quick word on Raja. But um, those 3 matches in particular were the matches that I was most paying attention to, I was most dialed into, because I thought they were the most consequential. So, starting with the first match that was played, Young Africans against Mouloudia of Algiers. I predicted that this would finish a draw 1-1. The result was actually 0-0. So I got the draw right, I got the scoreline wrong. Um, and this match sort of played out how I expected it to. Um, MC of Algiers came out in a typical 4-3-3 formation. Yanga came out in their typical formation as well. MC of Algiers, prior to the match, it was slated that they were going to make a lot of changes, including starting with the French Algerian striker Andy Delors, maybe bringing in a more natural left back in Hamza Mouali. All of those players ended up making substitutes during the match, but they didn't start the match. MC of Algiers pretty much lined up the exact same team that was there in the prior match, but with the exception of their captain Ayub Abdellawi, their center half and their captain, who was absolutely majestic during this match. And he had, just a quick to jump ahead, 12 clearances in this match, more than half of those with his head, but the rest of them also with his feet. So he was constantly that bulwark in defense, clearing the ball. So it was really good to have him back, and I thought he led his side very well. Mouloudia of Algiers, they lined up with like a medium block, and they were really focused on closing the passing lane. So they were not focused on, this high press, trying to win the ball back in Young Africans' end and trying to perhaps force a mistake and try and quickly score the ball in transition. No, they were more focused on let the Yanga defense have it, make sure we tighten all the spaces in midfield. They don't allow any penetrating passes in, and force Yanga to cross the ball. And that's exactly what Yanga ended up having to do. If you see any of the chances really throughout the first half, they mostly came from either long diagonals and then dribbling. Like I can think of one occasion, for example, when a long diagonal came in, Aziz Ki got his foot on the ball, he nutmegged the defender. So it's not like he was unmarked. And then he unleashed a very powerful shot, as only he can, that the goalkeeper Abdul Latif Ramdan saved, parried away. Um, or if it wasn't that, then it was just crossing. But most of the crosses, the vast majority, were very well dealt with by MC of Algiers. And then if they managed to recover the ball and they needed a little bit of breathing space, they would play long passes to the corner flags. And Sofiane Bayazid, the striker who started the match, who I thought should have started the match instead of Andy Delors, he did a great job. For example, I'm thinking of an example here in my notes in the 43rd minute, providing a lot of good running, pushing the block up, winning a cheap foul in the Yanga end, and allowing the block to sort of move up. So that was really the tale of the match, really. But even the first half was just Mouloudia of Algiers in place, forcing the ball out wide, clearing the ball, and then if they can play over Yanga's defensive line into space and chase it and move the block up. And that's really what it was, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Um, but we could already see in the first half, and this is one of the keys to the match that we talked about before the match, that Yanga were getting frustrated. And that was one of the things that they cannot get frustrated because Mouloudia are going to try to frustrate them. I'm very familiar with how Algerian sides play football, how even the national team plays football. I've seen them do masterful jobs, wasting time, killing, any kind of momentum that other teams have. They have mastered the dark arts like perhaps only the Tunisians. Um, and so I counted when I was watching during the first half, whenever there was a player that went down, So, for example, with cramp, or let's say he just got a knock in the ankles and he went down and he held his ankles. I counted the seconds, and there was more than 7 minutes. 7 minutes of time from when a Mouloudia player won a foul, and it wasn't just any foul. It was a foul where they had to go down and hold their ankle and ask for the referee for time, and then they're resuming play. A total accumulation of 7 minutes, and the referee added 4 minutes of added time. And so that's not counting, of course, any time that Iyenga player went down. That's not counting any other stoppages of play. So you could see like that's not like how can I say it? It's not like that's not a crazy mistake from the referee, you know? But you can see how the Algerian sides, the North Africa, Tunisians as well, they shave off little minutes up, and that's what makes them better than other African sides on the continent in handling and managing these kinds of matches. It also helps that Mouloudia of Algiers is used to playing in hostile environments, so going to Benjamin Mkapa is not going to intimidate them. But really, the game picked up, and I thought we had a really good game in the second half. And it started because Sead Ramovic, you could see him yelling at the refs at halftime, fuming at them because of the time wasting from Mouloudia of Algiers. But he should have also been angry at himself because he started this match without Pacom Zouzoua, the Ivorian midfielder who was absolutely electric when he came on at the beginning of the second half. And we know he's one of Yenga's best players. I don't understand. I haven't read like any post-match reports and seen if Ramovic has commented on this or not, but I don't understand why he didn't start the match. So he comes on in the 42nd minute, and just in 45 minutes, when you look at the statistics, he creates the most chances in the entire match. Aziz Ki is a close second, but Zouzoua is the one that creates the most chances. Um, and the second half starts exactly as the first half sort of finished, with Mouloudi of Algiers forcing the ball out wide. And here the left back from Yanga, Boca, he was really frustrated me, especially in the first 10 minutes of the second half, because there were at least 2 to 3 crosses that he just not even in the box, over everybody's head, even over the opposing fullback's head on the other side for Mouloudia of Algiers. At least 4 crosses that I counted. So I might have missed some. 4 crosses that I counted where he was in a great position with players in the box and he overcrosses everybody and it ends up on the other side of the pitch. So he had a really poor match, and I think upon review he's gonna admit that himself. Um, then I put immediately after that, Muludia are defending like gnats. You know, gnats like the little insects, like almost like a mosquito, but they don't really bite you that much. I don't know, at least the ones where I grew up in Canada, they weren't really biting me too much. But it's one of those where you can break away from them for a little bit, but just a few seconds. And then all of a sudden, it's not just one, it's two, three, four. They find themselves to be in your vicinity and to bother you and cloud your vision, and they get in your nostrils and in your mouth, and that's how it felt like Mouloudia were defending. Like it wasn't very strict man marking where they were not letting you breathe at all, but if you broke away for a little bit, they were very good in replacing themselves and surrounding you. So I thought Mouloudia did defend like gnats. Um, the most determinant period of the match came between the 73rd and the 84th minute. It was a 10-minute spell where Yanga really started to crank the pressure here. A Pakum Zuzua corner kick headed at the near post. I want to say it was by Ibrahim Hamad, but I'm not sure. One of the, I think the center halves, and the Mouloudia goalkeeper Abdelatif Ramdan makes a great save with his leg. 1 minute later, Aziz Ki, why am I calling him Stefan? I don't think that's his first name. Aziz Ki follows up with a curling effort that drifts past the far post. In the 77th minute, interplay between Aziz Ki, Zuzua, and then Aziz Ki has a shot that's deflected. Zuzua follows it in, tries to cross the ball, but is blocked by the goalkeeper. 78th minute, Clement Mziza redirects a shot that comes from outside of the box, but it's too weak, and the goalkeeper pounces on it again. 4 clear-cut chances in 5, 6 minutes. And that's where Yanga had to at least score one. But when I see who's on the end of these chances, Zuzua, Aziz Ki, Mziza one. I don't see like I think Yanga are missing a killer in attack. I know they have Kennedy Musanda. I know they have Mzize maybe can play in that position as well. Um, I think they're missing Fiston Mayele, like somebody that would have converted that, somebody that expects to score every single game. Because I don't think your most dangerous attacking outlet should be your most creative outlets. You know, Aziz Ki and Pagum Zouzoua, they can't do everything. Aziz Ki was one of the players that contested the most duels. He's one that created the most chances as well after Zouzoua. And then you want him to score the goals on top of that. You know, he's not Superman. He's pretty close, but he's not Superman. And so I think that's what Yanga were really missing in a match like this is one of those fox in the box strikers that just needs a half chance to convert because that 10-minute spell when they didn't score, you could see that it was over. Because in the 87th minute, you could see I there's the right back Shomari, he like shanks a pass. Aziz Ki starts getting impatient. The coaches are yelling at one another, like the Mouloudi of Algiers assistant coaches with Ramovic and his staff as well. So you can see the frustration starting to build, and those are in very critical periods of the match, the last 5 minutes, where you have to be clear in your mind. You cannot be impatient. You cannot let the Algerians frustrate you, and Yanga did. And I think the fact that they did was almost an admission that they couldn't get anything out of this match as well. Um, so yeah, and then it's funny because the time wasting in the second half was probably double what we saw in the first half when I counted. Remember, just minimum 7 minutes, and then the referee in the second half gives 7 minutes of extra time, and the Algerians are furious. So I just started laughing. I put that in my notes, like it should have been probably probably double that, but they just know how to put pressure on the referees because maybe they themselves know that 7 minutes is fair, but they know if they yell at the referee, he's going to understand that they think it's unfair, and maybe he's going to blow the whistle exactly at 7 minutes and not let it run until 8 or 9 minutes. You know, small things like that. Second half stats 74 to 26% possession for Yanga. How many shots on target? Two shots on target for Yanga, one shot on target from Mouloudi. And I would say Mouloudi's chance was even more, it was close, but it was just as dangerous as some of Yanga's chances where it was cleared off the line. So 74 to 26, but just 2-1 shots on target. So for me, when I see that, immediately I think Mouloudia, they accomplished their mission. They set out with a game plan, and they very quite clearly managed to do what they set out to do. Whereas Yanga were quite clearly frustrated, and they couldn't break down that Mouloudia block. So Mouloudia, now that like, it's a transfer window season, they have to find a way to score goals, though. This is another match where they're shut out, another match where they kept a clean sheet, but they also didn't score a goal. So if they're serious about advancing in the knockout stages, the next steps for them is to make sure they find a way to score goals. But as long as they defend and defend the way that they have been defending, even against the best clubs in Africa, they always have a chance. Because if you finish 0-0 and 0-0, you just go to penalty kicks. And their goalkeeper's been playing really well. Abdelatif Ramdan, he was the man of the match in this match. And so in penalty kicks, it's a lottery. Anybody can win, right? Well, I think that's probably not accurate to say it's a lottery. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but anybody can win for sure. So yeah, congratulations to Mouloudi of Algiers. They head on to the quarterfinals. The next match that I want to talk about is Orlando Pirates versus Al Ahly. I had predicted that Al Ahly would win this match 2-1, and it was actually the inverse. Orlando Pirates win 2-1. First match that Al Ahly loses at home this season. Wow. This was really impressive again. Um, and full disclaimer, I didn't watch this match live. I watched this match after I had already known what the result was. So I was curious to see how did Pirates win this match 2-1. Did they completely dominate Al Ahly, which I probably doubted. How did it happen? The first thing I would say is that we had asked the question, how serious are both sides taking this match? Pirates lined up with practically, their starting lineup. Maybe a few the fullbacks maybe were not the starting fullbacks, but they were there with people that they would start with in the quarterfinals, right? That wasn't the case really for Al Ahly, and I know most of that is injury actually. So it's not to say that they didn't take this match seriously, but if you're gonna play Al Ahly 2 months from now, they're probably not lining up, with like Omar Sa'i and Nedved and uh, probably not even maybe Efsha, but um, who was playing at right back? I forget. It wasn't even Abdel Fattah, was it? It wasn't Mohamed Hani came on. Maybe it was Abdel Fattah. Yeah, it was Abdel Fattah early on. Point is, like, this isn't the best Al Ahly side. I mean, starting 11 and Pirates, it was, I think, closer. It wasn't probably the best Pirates 11, but it was closer than that of Al Ahly. So that's the first thing to establish. That said, I think both sides did take this match seriously. They did both want to win, not at all costs, but they both did want to win equally, I would say. Um, as I'm watching the match, because I remember saying last week on the video that Pirates, when they play football, it's almost like they've been playing with each other for years and years and years. It's like playing with a close friend or a brother. You know what they're gonna do before they do it. And I was really trying to focus and concentrate. What gives that impression? What is the tactical, what are the nuts and bolts tactically that makes it appear like that? The one thing I would say is it's the off the ball running. That is the main thing. And we talked about it from, aerial duels that Makopa or Mabasa win on, and they flick onto Nkota or Mofokeng or Maswangani sometimes. But it's not just the aerial duels as well. It's even when the ball is played on the ground. When there's an entry pass into a player with his back towards goal, the players that are around him are always making the right runs into space or showing to the ball and being ready to available to receive it. And so because they know where they're supposed to be and they know where their opponents are supposed to be tactically, that allows them to play very, very quickly. And here in the first 5 minutes, just entry passes to evidence Makopa. Makopa is a player I didn't really love for Bafana, but he fulfills his role perfectly for Pirates. And it starts with these entry passes. They both came in the first 5 minutes from CBC, the captain, who was 4 for 6 for long balls on the night. If you notice, when he's on the ball, he's usually playing a pass through the lines, sometimes right to the striker, Makopa, and that's what happened in the first 5 minutes. He breaks the lines with a pass to Makopa. Makopa's back's towards goal. He's drawing a center half on his back, and Makopa just lays it off to a Maswangani, or he'll lay it off to a Mofokeng, or he'll flick it on and whatever. And that's what gives that impression of. But they do it all over the pitch. It's not just Makopa and the wingers. It's all over the pitch. They're off the ball running. The third man runners are always available and are always making the right moves, especially when they're set up, with set possession. It's not a transition phase. Um, Al Ahly, on the other hand, one thing that I was impressed from them was their set pieces. I was very impressed with Sundowns later on as well, but Al Ahly, I thought beautifully well worked corner kick in the 15th minute. Yasser Ibrahim heads just wide after a combination play from Abu Ali and Afsha. I think that wasn't like directly a corner, but the, you could see that there was some work being done. Um, there's another good example of an off the ball runner for Pirates at the 20th minute. Um, And yeah, the first half it was like I think it was a bit even. It finished 0-0. I thought one of the main notes prior to the match was keep Imam Ashur quiet, and I thought Pirates did a fantastic job of that in the first 30 to 40 minutes. But towards the end of the first half, and in particular in the second half, he came to life, and he was playing on the wing. He wasn't playing behind the striker as I thought he would, but on the wing, he was really good. I really really was impressed by him playing through balls, making runs, combining with the players around him, getting shots off as well. Imam Ashur was, in my opinion, probably the best player alongside Abu Ali for Al Ahly. Um, yeah, I really like Ashwar on the left wing. So the goal comes early in the second half. Here I put there's not much to brag about except for the willingness of Mofokeng to make a run, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Because I was listening to Dr. Kumalo and Itumu Kune post-match analysis, and saying, "Oh, the pass by Talante and Bata was amazing." It wasn't really a great pass. I mean, I think two Al Ahly defenders should have probably intercepted it. I mean, it was a good idea and might as well play it when you're in a position like that. You don't have much to lose, right? But I mean, it wasn't like a pass that was completely uninterceptable and that the opposing defense couldn't break up. But just the fact that Movokeng sees Mbata picks up the ball in that position, he's the fact that he's willing to make the run. Lazier players won't make the run, and they'll have chances don't appear, and those goals, those scrappy goals, won't show up as well. And we see this happen. Mofa King, that's the second match in a row now that he's rewarded for his effort. We saw the first one, last match was when he was following up a shot and against Sierra Belouizdad, and there was a rebound and he scores it. And it's that those good reflexes of give effort is going to pay off. And here he makes a run that he's up against two defenders, much larger than him. It's an aerial ball that comes in, and they both whiff on it, and he ends up poking it home very coolly, and he deserves credit for the cool finish as well. Um, but yeah, I don't think it's like a beautifully constructed move. Pirates were masters. No, it was just like rewarded for the effort, in my opinion, and that's absolutely fine too. Just a note on the move though. Dion Hoto, I think, did win a header earlier in the move, and I think that should be pointed out as well. He's so good with his energy along the front line, for whether it's on the left or the right side. Um, Al Ahly does have a few chances in the second half. It's not like Pirates were shutting out Al Ahly. I think it's Abdel Fattah has like a diving header. Wissam Abu Ali has a low ball on the ground that he tries to sweep home with his left foot. And there's shots that they have, these are clear goal scoring opportunities. Just the player and the goalkeeper, they shoot directly at Sipo Chain. And Chain was great, don't get me wrong. Like you have to make those saves when they present themselves to you, but it's not like he's stretching himself from one side of the goal to the other side of the goal within a split second using his reflexes and saving it. It's like those were mostly shot at him, and that's more poor finishing than great goalkeeping, but you still have to make the saves, especially from such close distance and with such velocity. And he did that very well, I should say. Um 15 minutes after Mofokeng scores, I put Pirates are in a funk. They're pinned in their own end. And there's really a high level of technical football from Al Ahly. You see, as much as I would say in the first half, I really appreciate, and throughout the group stages, I appreciated Pirates' high level of tactical football. With Al Ahly in the second half here, like after when they're starting to put pressure on Pirates, it's more the technical football for me. It's like I don't see like these complicated, player movements between. It's more like a ball is coming in, there's a defender on you, so you have to have a perfect first touch, and the Al Ahly has player has a perfect first touch and quickly passes it on. Those are like technical things that you have to have the quality of player to pull off. Not every side in Africa can have that. Um, yeah, 67th minute, another beautifully worked free kick from Al Ahly. So you could see that they're working on their set pieces, which is, I think, that's great for a club like Al Ahly. You cannot rest on your laurels. You have to try to take advantage of every little thing. Um, the goal, Al Ahly's goal, they scored in the 70th minute. And what happens is Pirates are punished for their transition defense. And two times in this match, they could have been punished for their transition defense. The first time, I think it was the Abu Ali chance where he tries to sweep it with his left foot. Doesn't go in. Chain makes a save from close distance. But the second one, they were punished. And I think it's because the left back Mako, he makes a run. CBC, who's playing as the left center half, and Makaula, the defensive midfielder, are sort of like drifting because the left back is making a run, and the ball is sort of slowly being played to the right side of the pitch. And so it's one of those where like, and you don't want to say like don't make that run there because there is an opportunity, there is perhaps a chance that it is going to find Mako on the run. But it's one of those where it's like, all right, you maybe don't be that ambitious when you're winning 1-0 away from home in Cairo. So he makes the run. The center of gravity of the formation of Pirates is slowly drifting to the right. Sometimes you'll have a really great defensive midfielder that will cover there. So Ahly has Akram Tawfiq, who used to play as a fullback, as a right back. So usually for right back bombs forward, he'll cover there. I could think of like the Moroccan national team when Ashraf Hakimi bombs forward. Sofiane Amrabat is usually always making sure he covers the fullback. Here, Makaula was drifting with Sibisi, and Mbata was like just like I don't think he was really paying attention. I don't think he was expecting Pirates to lose the ball there, and uh, they lose the ball and they lose the ball. They didn't lose the ball. It was intercepted because of great defensive efforts from Karim Debes, tracking back. Great job fulfilling his defensive duties. As I mentioned, he might prior to the match, and he intercepts the ball and an even better pass, almost first time with the outside of his left boot. And Hussein Shahat is in acres of space, and he lobs Chain and they equalize. It's a very good finish. It's a deserved equalizer. Al Ahly deserved that equalizer in my opinion. I think the main thing for Pirates is just it's one of those where I say like be a little less ambitious when you're winning 1-0 away from home, but at the same time like that's their style of play, that's their DNA. You don't want to take that away from them as well, you know? What if they went and scored a second goal? Perhaps we could criticize as well Chain just for rushing out. In my opinion, I think if he just stayed in his goal, Shahat would have had a very difficult angle to come and shoot from because there was a Pirates defender closing in on him. It might have been Sibisi. Um, I think he got caught in no man's land. Either stay in goal or don't hesitate. Make sure you go and take out Shahat or take out the ball. Yeah. So that's one of those. These things can happen, but the fact that there were multiple occasions from Pirates losing the ball and Al Ahly counterattacking, that's a note that you have to make in the team meeting, film sessions, and you have to go over it and try and fix it on the training ground. In 83rd minute, Orlando Pirates scored their second one. Um, and for me, I put this goal is due to Pirates' verticality. I talked about Sibisi making those passes through the lines. Pirates, I think that's one of their main strengths as well. Is besides like being tactically very strong and running into space when you don't have the ball. Um, the other thing they do is their verticality is very, very good. I mean, the entry pass again from Mofokeng is eliminates, maybe two, three players. Um, I put in 5 seconds, there's two passes, and all of a sudden they're on the edge of the box. And here, I don't want to pick on Imam Ashur because I think by now he's moved centrally. He's not on the left wing anymore. I had mentioned prior to the match that he's not always going to track back. Um, and it's not really his fault here, but if he had a little more defensive discipline, but at the same time, I feel bad criticism because it's the 83rd minute. He's put in so much effort and so on and so forth. But if you see the ball, I think comes out to, I forget the guy's name. It's not Lamine, it's before. But he finds himself in space in central midfield, and it's really an Ahly attacking midfielder that probably should be closing him down. And the ball finds itself wide to Dlamini on the left wing. Beautiful cross, Mabasa. Beautiful deflected header, and that's 2-1. I mean, it's a beautiful goal. And for me, I had questions about Orlando Pirates' depth, and looking at the starting lineup again, I had questions about their depth because I was thinking, why are they starting like practically the same starting 11 again? And then when I see that they can bring on substitutes and substitutes can play like that, I say, okay, well, I think they have enough quality even on the bench to go far in this tournament. Um, but the substitutes did Pirates and Al Ahly a lot of good. I thought they were good substitutions from both coaches. Um, I think the last two things I would say about this match. Aerially, I'm still not sure about Pirates. They had conceded, set pieces before. They didn't concede one in this match. But at times, I swear I had the impression that Ahly were playing volleyball. There was maybe 3 or 4 occasions in this match where the ball was being headed back and forth, back and in the Pirates box, maybe 3 or 4 times. Boom, 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 boom. So like there would be a long pass to an Ahly center half who would head the ball back towards, the penalty area. The ball would be headed over again and head back and forth and back. And Al Ahly was like winning almost every single aerial duel. So when I look at Pirates, they have a lot of speed, but they don't have a lot of size, and that's something that worries me a little bit. If teams know how to take advantage of it. And then we talk about the refereeing decisions. I mean, in the last 2 minutes of this match, we have a penalty shot for Al Ahly, and then we have an offside or a goal that was ruled offside for Al Ahly that was very debatable as well. And I've seen South African fans say, no, these were correct decisions, and South African journalists, by the way. The great Mark Gleeson was somebody that told me he thinks that the refereeing decisions were correct. Whereas I've seen Egyptian fans and Egyptian journalists say the opposite. Me personally, I, the penalty one is not one that I like. I don't like these calls because it's almost I feel like the attacking team almost does it on purpose. Like they just go and they know if I just nick the ball here and I get hit in the foot and I go down and I scream hold my ankle screaming and everything, I'm gonna win a penalty. Whereas they provided no clear attacking threat. It's like one of those where his back is towards goal. He's never gonna score a goal there. There's no attacking threat. He was just slightly quicker than the defender. But it's one that I've seen given many, many times in the Premier League and in the Euros and in many different competitions. I've seen that given time and time and time and time again, the exact same situation. And so if we talk about, being consistent with calls in international football, that's one that I think probably should be a penalty. I don't hate the fact that it wasn't a penalty, but I think it probably should be a penalty. And then even the goal for offside, this one I'm going to give the referee a little bit more grace because it's up to his discretion. The player that scored the goal, that Amir Abia, obviously wasn't offside. Or sorry, he was offside when the initial ball was played, and then he comes back onside. His teammate chests it to him, and he strikes the ball on goal. And so he's one of those where he's the second man, right? The second man is offside, the first man isn't, and then the second man comes back onside and is involved in the goal. Um, with that one, I think it's completely up to the referee's discretion. It's if he thinks that Rami Rabia was impacting the play while he was in offside position, even if he didn't touch the ball. If I was the referee, and I think when I watched it, my initial instinct was to say that's a valid goal. I can, like I said, I can understand the referee saying, no, maybe him being in that offside position affected, the Pirates defenders and their calculations of how they were going to defend this aerial ball that was coming in. Overall, though, I think we're going to be having VAR in the next stages of the CAF Champions League, so we don't have to worry about that too much. But I can understand the gripes from the Egyptians. But overall, look, this is something that I think I've criticized Sundowns about a little bit, and that I think we're going to talk about Sundowns and their mentality in a little bit. But I don't care if you have the refereeing decisions on your side. Going to Cairo and winning against Al Ahly is massive. massive. And that's it. 3 matches in a row now. Pirates level up every single time. Against Stade d'Abidjan, it's one of those where I say, okay, win the matches you're supposed to win. They did that easily. Next, Sierra Belouizdad. Higher level of competition. Yeah. Team coming to Algeria, desperate to win, otherwise they're eliminated, and you take care of business dominantly, in dominant fashion. And now you go to Cairo, you step up again, like they're just making, step up, step up, step up. And I think if you take a straw poll of people that have watched the CAF Champions League this year, they're all going to say that Orlando Pirates have been the most impressive side in the African Champions League, and that's without a shadow of a doubt. And everybody in Algeria, I can tell you that people are scared. They all want to avoid Orlando Pirates. They do not want them uh, in the knockout stages. Very quick note on Pyramids and Esperance de Tunis. I thought they would win by 2 goals apiece. I should have said minimum because they won by 9 goals combined. Esperance 4-1, Pyramids 6-0. That's also an indictment on Sagrada Esperanza and Joliba. But I think I really like Esperance in particular, man. They're putting the pedal to the metal in the transfer window. They brought in a right back, Elias Bouzien, who had an assist on the match. They brought back their striker, Ashraf Jabari, who was on loan in the Tunisian league. I think he had 4 goals in 13 matches. He has a hat trick here in his first Champions League match, just 23 years old. So they bring in a striker who I thought they would need as a backup to Rodrigo Rodriguez. They brought in a right back. I think they maybe just need perhaps another center half. And I think they're set to make this title run alongside Al Ahly, alongside Pirates, and others in this group. Let's talk about Sundowns versus ASFAR. My prediction was that Sundowns would win this match 3-1, and actually the result was 1-1. And here I have, this is not really a tale of two halves, but rather this is a tale of 3 quarters of the match to 1 quarter of the match. Because for 70 minutes, Mamelodi Sundowns were dominant. The first half stat line was 75 to 25% possession for Sundowns and 8-1 shots. So it's not like Yanga, who were dominating MCA with sterile possession. Sundowns were actually threatening ISFAR, and surprisingly, they were threatening them with set pieces. And somebody asked me in the comments recently, I'm going to challenge you to tell me how are Sundowns different under Cardoso than they were under previous coaches. One very glaring and obvious thing to me is that Sundowns, if you watch this match against ISFAR, quite clearly give a lot more importance to set pieces than uh they do that now under Cardozo than they did under previous coaches. And that's a very good thing. And the goal comes from a set piece. It's beautifully well worked from Ribeiro, who sort of pretends like he's going to go down the byline for a run, comes back, pinpoint cross, and Peter Shalulile gets his 3rd goal in 2 games. Beautiful. Another glancing header for the Namibian. Uh, well, I don't even know what we can call him. I need to find a good nickname for him. Something like Leggy Namibian. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, really, really love Peter Shalulile. Um, so yeah, surprising to me that Sundowns were so great and prolific with set pieces. The other thing that I think was my main takeaway from this match was how easily Sundowns disarmed the ISFAR press. After struggling with Raja Casablanca's high press in Casablanca, to be fair, or in Morocco, um, ISFAR's at times looked amateurish, in my opinion, especially in the first half and in the first 15 minutes of the second half. And Sundowns weren't doing anything special. They were just, sending the fullbacks forward, bringing Tabao Mokoena back, maybe, bringing Kulise and Allende deep as well, and just getting wide. And it wasn't like very fast. It wasn't like, it was nothing special happening to break this press. They weren't playing long diagonals or anything like that. And as far as were insistent on playing it high, and they were getting broken down time and time and time and time again. Um, and then this is like baffling. Like something happens in the 65th minute. Everything is going well until the 65th minute. Sundowns are still averaging 70% possession of the match, and then there's like a switch that was flipped. Like, and for me, it's why was the switch flipped? That's what I think Cardoso has to sort of. He has 2 months to deal with it now, but why did that happen? Was it just um Sundowns figured, you know what, we're not going to concede 2 goals. We're going to take our foot off the pedal. Or was it more like Asfar just had 1 or 2 chances and Sundowns panicked and they just started to fall back and defend and defend and defend and defend because they became extremely passive. Let me look at my notes really quickly. Yeah, they became extremely passive. And The goal comes in the 83rd minute from Amin Zahzouh, who we spoke about in the last. We said we should give him a lot more props, and it was a beautiful finish. Cardoso in the post-match press conference said, "We had drilled time and time again that if AFR get the ball down the byline, they're going to probably play a cutback pass." And that's exactly what happened. They play a cutback pass. I think it was Ahly that pays the cutback pass, and Zahzouh with a one-time side-footed finish past Rano and Williams. It was unstoppable. Um, okay, so at least you could say we've been scouting them very well. We knew what they were gonna do. I'm struggling to like, is there a mental problem? And this is my I'm not saying there's a mental problem at Sundowns. I'm just asking the question because if they had scored a second or in the third goal there in Pretoria and shut the match out, I would have said that's a way to finish top of the group, um, put away a very credible top contender. That's what big teams with real ambition do. The fact that they were like hanging on by a thread and that the last 10 minutes of this match they were relegated to, just both sides were just sitting back. As an Algerian, historically this like it kind of bothers me a little bit because 1982 at the FIFA World Cup, between West Germany and Austria, they had done the exact same thing to the Algerian national team, but they started from the beginning of the match. It's not at all the same circumstances. This, they played a real complete match. They were trying to beat one another, and then when you're just in the last 5 to 10 minutes, it's like, okay, like we tried to beat one another, but I really can understand it. But they just start playing the ball back and forth, back and forth. Center back passes to center back, and the other team is not pressing at all. They were both absolutely content with a draw, as far because they finished top of the group and they proceed, and Sundowns simply because they finish second of the group and they proceed. But at least they're not taking a chance of being eliminated, because if they did concede a goal, then they very well could have been eliminated. Um, but yeah, I just don't understand like how that happened. How were you dominant for so long, and then how did that fall apart? Was it a mental issue? Was it a tactical issue? That's what Cardoso has to look at, and I think he will. Like, he's been pretty good since he came in. They have a good record, um, but he has, like you said, he has 2 months now. They're going to focus on the PSL, and he thinks that by then they'll have worked out a lot of kinks. I hope they do, because there's a thing about, like collective psychology, and from a fan's perspective, a player's perspective, coach's perspective, and I just hope that Sundowns don't have like a mental weakness issue. But I don't think they do, but it's something that I'm definitely keeping an eye on as we head into the knockout stages. But yeah, we're officially done breaking down matches. Next week, I'm going to do team of the round, and I'm also going to be looking at some of the main tactical tendencies of each team. And then we're probably going to turn the leaf on the Champions League until, yeah, 6 to 8 weeks from now when the knockout stages begin. So, yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the matches. You happy that your team got through, you said, because your team didn't? And what are you looking forward to most in the quarterfinals? I will talk about all of that and more coming up on the next episode of the African Five Side Podcast. Take care, all. Peace.